The observation deck of Colony Station Kepler 442b offered a breathtaking view of the twin moons that danced across the alien sky, but Dr. Elena Vasquez barely noticed their ethereal ballet. Her attention was fixed on the medical scanner readings that glowed softly in the dim light of the medical bay. The numbers told a story she had hoped never to encounter in her 15 years as the colony's chief medical officer. The patient lying on the biobed before her was unlike anything in their xenobiology databases. Her humanoid form was elegant, almost fragile, with translucent skin that revealed a network of bioluminescent vessels pulsing with a faint blue light. Her breathing was labored, each inhalation a struggle against whatever pathogen was ravaging her cellular structure. Most disturbing of all were the readings that indicated this being's immune system was not just compromised, it was actively being rewritten by an unknown viral agent. "The council meeting is in 10 minutes, came the voice of Administrator Chun from behind her. Elena didn't turn around, her hands continuing their methodical work over the patient. "They're going to want your recommendation." Elena's jaw tightened. She knew what the council expected to hear. The colony's protocols were clear: any unknown pathogen that could potentially threaten the human population was to be contained and eliminated. No exceptions. The survival of their 8,000 colonists took precedence over everything else, including the moral complexities of turning away a dying sentient being who had somehow made it across the vast emptiness of space to reach their doorstep. "Her ship was barely functional when our patrol found it," Elena said quietly, more to herself than to Chen. "Navigation systems fried, life support failing. She must have been traveling for months, maybe years, just to reach us." "Which makes her even more dangerous," Chen replied, his voice carrying the weight of administrative responsibility. "We have no idea what she might be carrying or where she came from. The risk assessment algorithms are all flashing red." Elena finally turned to face the administrator, her dark eyes reflecting the blue glow from the alien's bioluminescent circulatory system. "Marcus, she's dying. Whatever this pathogen is, it's killing her faster than our systems can analyze it. We're talking hours, not days." "Then, the decision becomes even easier," Chen said, though his tone suggested the words tasted bitter. "We cannot risk exposure. The quarantine protocols exist for a reason." The medical bay's doors hissed open, and Dr. James Morrison, the colony's xenobiology specialist, entered with a datapad clutched in his hand. His usually calm demeanor was replaced by visible excitement and concern. "Elena, you need to see this. The preliminary genetic analysis is extraordinary." Elena accepted the pad, her eyes scanning the complex molecular diagrams and statistical breakdowns. What she saw made her breath catch. "This can't be right." "I ran it 3 times, Morrison said. "Her genetic structure isn't just compatible with human DNA, it's almost like looking at an evolutionary cousin. The base pairs, the protein synthesis pathways, even the cellular energy production mechanisms are remarkably similar. It's as if our species diverged from a common ancestor millions of years ago." Chen stepped closer, his administrative mask slipping to reveal genuine curiosity. "What does that mean for containment?" Morrison and Elena exchanged glances before Morrison spoke. "It means whatever's affecting her could very well affect us. But it also means our medical technology might actually be compatible enough to help her. The protein structures are similar enough that our synthetic compounds could work. Or it could mean that whatever's killing her could jump to our population with devastating efficiency," Chen countered. "I'm sorry, but this only reinforces the need for immediate isolation and disposal." Elena felt something cold settle in her stomach. Disposal. Such a clinical term for what amounted to abandoning a dying sentient being to the vacuum of space. She looked back at the patient, whose alien features were somehow achingly familiar despite their otherworldly nature. The being's large opalescent eyes were closed, but Elena could see the rapid movement beneath her eyelids that suggested dreams, or perhaps nightmares. "There's something else," Morrison continued, his voice dropping to a whisper. "The pathogen isn't natural. The genetic markers suggest artificial construction, probably viral vector therapy gone wrong. Someone or something engineered this." The implications hung in the air like a physical weight. If this being was the victim of some form of biological warfare or failed medical experimentation, it added layers of complexity to an already impossible situation. Elena's medical oath compelled her to help anyone in need, regardless of species. But her responsibility to the colony demanded that she protect the human population above all else. The council meeting, Chen reminded them again, checking his chronometer. 5 minutes. Elena made a decision that would haunt her for the rest of her life. Tell them I need more time for analysis. The contamination risk is too uncertain for an immediate decision. Chen's expression darkened. Elena, you know that's not going to satisfy them. They want a clear recommendation: save her or space her. Then, tell them they'll have my recommendation in 6 hours. That should give us enough time to run a complete pathogen analysis and determine if treatment is viable. 6 hours? Morrison looked at her in surprise. Elena, you said yourself she only has hours left. Which means we better work fast. Chen studied Elena's face for a long moment, recognizing the stubborn determination he had seen countless times over their years working together. Fine. 6 hours. But, Elena, if there's any indication that this pathogen could spread to the human population, any indication at all, I won't be able to protect you from the Council's decision. They'll override medical protocols if they have to. After Chen left, Elena and Morrison stood in silence for several minutes, the only sound the soft hum of medical equipment and the alien's labored breathing. Finally, Morrison spoke. You're not just buying time for analysis, are you? Elena's hand moved to the emergency medical override console, her fingers hovering over the controls that could seal the medical bay and activate independent life support. James, what would you do if you were her? Traveling across the void, probably the last of your kind, carrying God knows what kind of experimental pathogen, only to arrive at a world that's going to throw you back into space? I'd hope that someone would see me as more than just a contamination risk, Morrison replied quietly. Exactly. Elena's fingers moved across the console, activating privacy screens and independent environmental controls. Whatever happens in the next 6 hours, it's going to happen in here, away from the colony's main systems. Morrison nodded slowly, understanding the magnitude of what Elena was proposing. You're going to try to save her regardless of the contamination risk. I'm going to try to save her because of who we claim to be, Elena corrected. If we can't show compassion to a dying being who reached out to us for help, then what's the point of all this? She gestured toward the medical bay's windows, where the lights of the colony twinkled in the alien darkness. What are we really preserving? The next several hours would test everything Elena believed about medicine, humanity, and the fragile line between survival and moral courage. As she began preparing advanced treatment protocols for an alien physiology she barely understood, Elena couldn't shake the feeling that this moment would define not just her own character, but the true nature of human civilization itself. The alien stirred on the biobed, her luminescent circulatory system pulsing more rapidly as if responding to Elena's proximity. For just a moment, her opalescent eyes opened, meeting Elena's gaze with an intelligence that transcended species barriers. In those depths, Elena saw not just a plea for help, but a question about what kind of beings humans truly were when faced with the ultimate test of their compassion. Elena reached for her medical scanner, her decision crystallizing with each passing second. She would find out what kind of person she was, regardless of what it cost her. Part 2, the choice. The medical bay had become Elena's entire universe. For the past 4 hours, she had worked with a desperate efficiency she had never experienced before, every moment measured against the alien's failing life signs. Morrison had proven invaluable, his xenobiology expertise helping to bridge the gap between human medical technology and an utterly foreign physiology. The alien Elena had begun thinking of her as Lyra after the constellation visible through the medical bay's viewport had stabilized somewhat under their care. The bioluminescent patterns in her skin had shifted from the chaotic, flickering display of systemic failure to a more rhythmic pulse that suggested her body was responding to the modified human medications they had synthesized. Cellular regeneration is up 12%, Morrison announced, his voice hoarse from hours of continuous work. The adapted antivirals seem to be slowing the pathogen's replication, but it's not enough. We're buying time, not creating a cure. Elena studied the genetic sequencing data flowing across her screens. The pathogen was indeed artificially constructed, a masterpiece of malevolent bioengineering that attacked the victim's DNA at the most fundamental level. Worse, it appeared to be learning, adapting to each treatment they attempted with terrifying speed. It's not just a virus, Elena realized, her fingers flying across the analysis controls. It's a biological weapon designed to evolve countermeasures. Someone created this specifically to be incurable. A soft chime indicated an incoming communication. Chen's face appeared on the medical bay's main screen, his expression grim. Elena, I need your report. The council has been in emergency session for the past hour, and they're getting nervous about the delay. Marcus, we've made progress. She's responding to treatment, and I think we can. Elena, Chen interrupted, his voice carrying a weight that made her stomach drop. 20 minutes ago, our deep space sensors detected 3 ships entering the system. They're not broadcasting identification, and their configuration doesn't match any known human vessel designs. The implications hit Elena like a physical blow. You think they're looking for her? I think we may have stumbled into something much larger than a medical emergency, Chen replied. The ships are maintaining position just beyond the outer system, but they're clearly scanning. If they're here for our patient, we need to make a decision quickly. Morrison looked up from his console, his face pale. Elena, if those ships are from whoever created this pathogen. Elena's mind raced through the possibilities. If Lyra was a victim of biological warfare, her arrival at the colony might not have been random. She could be fleeing from those ships, or worse, she could be an unwitting carrier meant to spread the pathogen to human populations. Has she shown any signs of consciousness? Chen asked. Any indication of why she's here? She's been in and out, Elena admitted. But, Marcus, there's something you need to understand. The pathogen isn't just attacking her, it's rewriting her genetic code. If this is a weapon, it's the most sophisticated biological attack system I've ever encountered. And if it can affect her physiology, it could affect ours, Chen finished. Elena, I'm running out of ways to protect you from the council's decision. They want her off the station within the hour. An hour? Morrison's voice cracked. Marcus, she'll die if we move her now. The treatment is delicate, and any interruption could what, James? Could kill her faster than spacing her would? Chen's frustration was evident. I'm trying to balance the survival of 8,000 colonists against one dying alien. The mathematics are brutal but clear. Elena felt something shift inside her, a crystallization of purpose that transcended medical protocols and administrative pragmatism. Marcus, what if the mathematics are wrong? What if saving her is the only way to save ourselves? Explain. Elena turned back to Lyra's biobed, watching the complex interplay of alien physiology and human medical intervention. If those ships out there belong to whoever created this pathogen, then we're already in danger whether we save her or not. Our choice isn't between safety and risk, it's between facing that danger with potential allies or facing it alone. The medical bay's environmental sensors suddenly chimed with an alert. Morrison quickly checked the readings, his expression shifting to alarm. Elena, we're detecting trace amounts of the pathogen in the air recycling system. Chen's voice became sharp with urgency. Are you saying it's airborne? No, Elena said quickly, analyzing the sensor data. It's not spreading. The concentrations are minimal and decreasing. I think she's fighting it off. Her immune system is starting to win. But, even as she spoke, Elena realized the larger implication. The pathogen had briefly been present in the station's atmosphere, which meant the colony's population had already been exposed. The decision about whether to save Lyra had become academic, they were all committed now. Marcus, Elena said quietly, you need to run medical scans on the entire population. Full viral workups, genetic stability markers, everything. The silence from Chen's end of the communication stretched for long seconds. When he finally spoke, his voice was carefully controlled. How long have we been exposed? Based on these readings, probably since she arrived. But, Marcus, the concentrations were so low that I don't think Elena. Lyra's voice was barely a whisper, but it cut through the medical bay like a blade. Elena spun toward the biobed, where the alien's opalescent eyes were now fully open and focused with startling clarity. You can understand us? Elena moved closer, her medical scanner already active. Your language patterns, accessible through neural interface technology. Lyra's words came slowly, each one carefully formed. Warning, must give warning. Morrison stepped closer, his scientific curiosity overriding his caution. What kind of warning? Are those ships out there looking for you? Lyra's bioluminescent patterns pulsed more rapidly, indicating stress or urgency. Pathogen, not weapon against my people. Weapon against yours. I am test subject. Prototype. Elena felt the world tilt around her. You're saying this virus was designed to affect humans? My physiology, modified, to match yours. Creators wanted to test compatibility before deployment. Lyra's breathing became more labored as she spoke. Escaped during final testing phase. Came here to warn you. Chen's voice came through the comm system with deadly quiet intensity. Elena, are you getting this? Every word, Elena replied, her mind racing through the implications. Marcus, if she's telling the truth, then those ships aren't just looking for her, they're probably carrying a refined version of the pathogen. One specifically designed for human biology. Why should we believe her? Morrison asked, though his tone suggested he already did. She could be saying anything to save herself. Lyra's eyes met Morrison's, and, for a moment her expression carried a weight of sorrow that transcended species. Because, your scans will show, pathogen designed with human genetic markers. Because, those ships will not negotiate. And, because I am dying to bring you this warning. Elena checked Lyra's vital signs, seeing the truth in the biometric readings. Despite their treatments, despite the brief stabilization, Lyra was indeed dying. Her body was burning itself out fighting the very pathogen that had been engineered to test its effects on human-like physiology. She's right about one thing, Elena announced. The pathogen does show markers suggesting it was designed with human genetics in mind. James, remember those protein compatibility readings we found so remarkable? They weren't coincidental. Chen's face reappeared on the main screen, his expression showing the weight of impossible decisions. So our choice is between trusting a dying alien who claims to be trying to save us, or assuming she's part of an elaborate biological attack. There's a third option, Elena said, moving to her main medical console. We assume she's telling the truth and prepare for the worst. If those ships are carrying a human-specific version of this pathogen, then our only chance is to understand what we're facing before they get here. How long would that take? Chen asked. Elena looked at Lyra, seeing the determination in those alien features despite her obvious pain. With her help? Maybe we could have preliminary countermeasures within hours. Without her? Elena shrugged. We'd be going in blind against bioweapons specifically designed to kill us. Morrison suddenly straightened, his eyes widening as he stared at his analysis console. Elena, you need to see this. I've been running deep scans on the pathogen samples, and there's something embedded in the viral structure, data sequences that don't belong to any known biological function. Elena moved to examine Morrison's findings, her breath catching as she recognized the implications. It's a data storage system. The virus itself is carrying information. What kind of information? Chen's voice carried new urgency. Lyra's weak voice provided the answer. Genetic templates. Population data. Strategic intelligence. Everything they gathered to design the human-specific version. Elena felt a chill run down her spine. She's carrying their entire research database inside the pathogen. Everything they learned about human biology to create their weapon. Which means, Morrison continued, his voice filled with horrified understanding, that saving her isn't just about compassion anymore. She's carrying the only intelligence we have about what's coming. Chen was quiet for a long moment, and Elena could imagine the calculations running through his administrative mind. Finally, he spoke. Elena, how long do you need to extract that data? With Lyra's cooperation and the medical equipment we have here? Maybe 2 hours for a preliminary analysis, 6 for a complete download. And her condition? Elena looked at the alien who had risked everything to warn them, seeing the cost of that decision written in every labored breath. She might not survive the extraction process. The pathogen is still active, and accessing the stored data could accelerate its effects on her system. Lyra's eyes found Elena's, and in them Elena saw a resolution that needed no translation. Do it, Lyra whispered. Extract everything. Save your people. Elena felt tears she didn't realize she was capable of shedding begin to blur her vision. Here was a being who had crossed the void to warn them of danger, who was now offering to sacrifice whatever remained of her life to give them the tools they needed to survive. Elena, Chen's voice came through the calm with new authority, do what you have to do. I'll handle the council and prepare the colony for whatever's coming. But, Elena, make her sacrifice count. As Elena began preparing the neural interface equipment that would allow them to access the data stored within Lyra's pathogen-modified physiology, she realized that this moment represented something unprecedented in human history. They were about to receive knowledge that could save their entire species, delivered by an alien who asked for nothing in return except the hope that her warning would be heard. The man who destroys his weak self can never be destroyed by others, Elena thought, remembering the philosophical text her father had once shared with her. Looking at Lyra, she realized she was seeing the ultimate expression of that principle, someone who had already sacrificed everything weak and selfish within herself to protect others, even others of a different species entirely. Part 3, The Salvation. The neural interface hummed with an energy Elena had never encountered before, its quantum processing arrays working overtime to decode the massive data streams flowing from Lyra's modified biology. What they discovered in those first crucial hours would have been impossible to believe if not for the alien's deteriorating condition serving as undeniable proof of her sacrifice. The pathogen wasn't just carrying data, it was a complete biological intelligence network, a living library of everything an unknown enemy had learned about humanity through decades of covert observation. Star charts showing human colony locations, detailed biological analyses of human genetic diversity, even psychological profiles of human leadership structures. It was the blueprint for genocide on an interstellar scale. Elena, you need to see this section, Morrison called out, his voice tight with urgency. They've been watching us for at least 50 years. There are observation records from Earth, detailed analysis of our expansion patterns, even cultural studies of human behavior under stress. Elena paused in her work with the medical interface, her attention drawn to Morrison's discovery. The implications were staggering. While humanity had been taking its first tentative steps toward the stars, thinking themselves alone in the universe, an unknown intelligence had been cataloging their every weakness. The targeting protocols are incredibly sophisticated, Elena observed, scanning through genetic attack vectors designed specifically for human DNA. They've identified vulnerabilities in human immune systems that we haven't even discovered ourselves. Lyra's bioluminescent patterns had grown increasingly erratic as the data extraction progressed, her alien physiology struggling to maintain stability while the neural interface accessed the pathogen's stored information. Despite Elena's best efforts to minimize the trauma, the process was clearly accelerating Lyra's decline. How much more? Lyra whispered, her voice barely audible above the medical equipment. We're at about 60% completion, Elena replied, checking the extraction progress. Lyra, your vital signs are becoming critical. We could stop now, preserve what we have, no. The word carried absolute finality despite its weakness. Extract everything. Your people need to understand what they're facing. Chen's voice crackled through the calm system with updates that made the urgency even more acute. Elena, the 3 ships have moved into closer orbit. We're detecting massive energy signatures from their direction, and what looks like atmospheric deployment systems. If those are biological weapons platforms, we may have less time than we thought. Elena's hands moved with practiced efficiency across her medical controls, adjusting Lyra's life support systems to squeeze every possible moment from her failing physiology. The irony wasn't lost on her. She was using human medical technology to keep an alien alive long enough for that alien to provide the key to humanity's survival. "There's something else in here," Morrison announced, his voice carrying a note of excitement despite their desperate circumstances. "Lyra, these files contain what looks like countermeasure formulations. Did your people develop defenses against these weapons?" Lyra's eyes found Morrison's, and Elena saw a flicker of something that might have been hope. "Not my people, me. During captivity, I was more than test subject. I was research assistant. Had access to development databases. Stole countermeasure data before escape." Elena felt a surge of admiration for the alien's courage and foresight. Even while being used as a test subject for biological weapons designed to destroy another species, Lyra had been planning to warn and protect those intended victims. "Elena," Chen's voice carried new urgency, "we're detecting atmospheric entry signatures. Whatever those ships were planning, it's starting now." Elena checked the data extraction progress, 87% complete, but Lyra's vital signs were becoming increasingly unstable. The neural interface was drawing power from her bioluminescent circulatory system, literally burning out her life force to access the stored information. "Lyra, we're almost finished, but I don't know if I know," Lyra interrupted, her voice gaining unexpected clarity. "Elena, when extraction completes, my bioluminescent systems will cascade failure. But data will be complete. You will have everything needed to save your people." Elena realized what Lyra was telling her. The final stage of data extraction would kill her, but it would provide humanity with a complete defense against the incoming biological attack. Morrison looked up from his analysis console, his face pale with the enormity of what they had discovered. "Elena, the countermeasures are incredibly sophisticated. If we can synthesize them in time, we might actually be able to protect the colony population." "How long for synthesis?" Elena asked, her hands already moving to prepare the colony's medical fabrication systems for emergency production. "With the automated systems running at maximum capacity?" "4 hours for the first batch, assuming we start now." Chen's voice carried the weight of command decisions made under impossible pressure. "Elena, I'm initiating colony-wide emergency protocols. We're sealing all atmospheric systems and preparing for biological attack. How long before you can provide countermeasures?" "4 hours minimum," Elena replied, "but, Marcus, we need to start synthesis now, before the extraction is complete. If we wait, it might be too late." "Do it," Chen ordered. "Whatever resources you need, you have them." Elena began uploading the partial countermeasure data to the colony's medical fabrication systems, watching as automated pharmaceutical production lines began creating compounds based on alien biochemistry that human science hadn't even imagined 12 hours earlier. Elena, Lyra's voice was fading, but her determination remained absolute. "Extraction at 95%. Almost complete. But something you must know." "Tell me," Elena said, moving closer to the biobed. "Those ships, not just carrying biological weapons. Carrying my people. Survivors who collaborated with attackers. They think I died during testing. They will try to convince you I was the threat." Elena felt a chill that had nothing to do with the medical base temperature. "You're saying some of your people are working with whoever created these weapons?" "Not working with, enslaved by." "But, Elena, they will lie to protect themselves." "Do not trust any who claim I was dangerous. I am dying to save you." The neural interface suddenly emitted a high-pitched whine, its quantum processors reaching maximum capacity as they extracted the final fragments of data from Lyra's modified biology. Elena watched in fascination and horror as Lyra's bioluminescent patterns suddenly blazed with brilliant intensity, every vessel in her body lighting up like a complex network of stars. "Extraction complete," Morrison announced, his voice filled with awe. "Elena, we have everything. Complete biological weapon specifications, detailed countermeasure formulations, even tactical information about their attack protocols." Lyra's body convulsed once, then became still. Her bioluminescent patterns flickered like dying stars, then, gradually faded to darkness. Elena checked her vital signs with hands that trembled slightly, finding what she had expected but hoped against. "She's gone," Elena announced quietly. "But she gave us everything we need." Shen's voice came through the comm system with updates that validated Lyra's final sacrifice. "Elena, we're detecting multiple atmospheric release events across the outer system. Whatever they've deployed, it's heading our way. How are the countermeasures coming?" Elena checked the fabrication systems, seeing the first batches of synthesized compounds reaching completion. "First batch ready for distribution in 2 hours. Marcus, we need to start inoculating the population immediately." Elena, Morrison interrupted, studying the complete data package they had extracted. "You need to see this. The files contain detailed specifications for their entire operation. This isn't just an attack on our colony, it's a preliminary assault. They're testing their weapons here before deploying them against Earth and the major colonies." The magnitude of what Lyra had prevented began to dawn on Elena. Without her warning, without the countermeasures she had died to provide, this attack would have been used to refine biological weapons for use against humanity's entire interstellar civilization. "Marcus," Elena called through the comm, "we need to get this information to Earth Command immediately. This colony was just the test site, they're planning to attack every human world." "Already on it," Chen replied. "But, Elena, we still have to survive the next few hours before that information does anyone else any good." Elena looked down at Lyra's still form, seeing in those alien features the face of someone who had embodied the highest ideals of any species. She had destroyed everything weak, selfish within herself, her survival instincts, her loyalty to her own people, even her life, to protect beings she had never met from a threat they didn't even know existed. "Morrison," Elena said, moving to the colony's emergency medical systems, "let's finish what she started. Time to save our people with the tools she died to give us." Over the next 4 hours, Elena and Morrison worked with desperate efficiency to synthesize and distribute Lyra's countermeasures to the colony's entire population. When the biological attack came, wave after wave of engineered pathogens designed to exploit every weakness in human genetics, they were ready. The countermeasures worked perfectly, neutralizing the biological weapons with an effectiveness that demonstrated just how thoroughly Lyra had understood both the threat and the solution. By the time rescue ships arrived from Earth Command 3 days later, Colony Station Kepler 442b had become humanity's first successful defense against an alien biological attack. Elena never forgot the lesson Lyra had taught her through her sacrifice. The strength to protect others comes not from preserving what is weak and selfish within ourselves, but from destroying those limitations to become something greater than we thought possible. In the end, Lyra had become indestructible not by protecting herself, but by giving everything she had to protect others. The colony survived, humanity was warned, and an entire species was saved because one individual had the courage to destroy her weak self in service of something larger than personal survival. In the memorial garden they built for Lyra, Elena placed a simple inscription that captured the essence of what they had learned: the man who destroys his weak self can never be destroyed by others. Lyra had proven that principle with her life, and, in doing so, had shown humanity what they could become if they found the courage to follow her example. Her legacy wasn't just the countermeasures that saved them, but the demonstration that true strength comes from the willingness to sacrifice everything for the protection of others, even when those others are strangers from an entirely different world. Elena often visited the memorial garden in the months that followed, looking up at the twin moons that danced across the alien sky, knowing that somewhere among the stars there might be others who needed the kind of courage Lyra had shown. And she knew that when that time came, humanity would be ready to answer that call, having learned the ultimate lesson about what it means to be truly indestructible.